Running shoes. You know, running shoes, probably one of the most important pieces of equipment that every runner uses and has. And I have a lot. If you guys don't already know who I am, my name is Jace Harder. I run for the University of Minnesota. I've worked in sales for shoes for 3 years. So I feel like I'm a pretty credible source. I know a lot about running shoes. So in today's video, I'm gonna kind of break down my favorite running shoes, my rotation, and maybe help you guys give a few recommendations. So most of the shoes that we get are Nikes, and we get them for free. So most of the shoes I'll be showing are Nike, but I've worked at a running store for 3 years, so I know my fair share about shoes, and I feel like I'm able to tell the difference between a good shoe and a bad shoe. So I think it's important first to note that every shoe has a different purpose, and they're a different tool in the toolbox. For analogy, let's think of like cars, for example. You got the Lamborghini that's made to be going fast, and then you got the daily commuter, you know, like the sedan. Honda Civic, you know, it's simple, it gets the job done, and you're doing most of your driving or running in this case in that shoe. And for me, I have a running shoe rotation, which is something I highly recommend. I'll kind of go into depth more about that, but first off, the first shoe I'm going to be talking about is Nike Vomero. This shoe is great. I do most of my mileage in this shoe. It has a ZoomX, you know, a small layer of ZoomX on the top, as you can see, and the rest is ReactX. And you know, this shoe, for me, it provides enough cushion and support for my daily runs. You know, I really like this shoe because I feel like it can last pretty, like a decent amount, roughly about 400 miles or so, which I don't like to go more than that because I think, you know, I don't want to risk injury. So you can definitely, I guarantee you can run a lot more, probably around like maybe 600 in these. But I personally like going up maybe on the lower end to, you know, make sure I don't get hurt. But I really like the shoe because I don't like having so much cushion. And I think this has a perfect amount. Sometimes when there's too much, I feel like my ankles can get a little wobbly, so that's why I really like this shoe. I also have the Nike Vomero Plus, which is right here, and I ran mostly in the winter in these, which is probably not the best choice because of the snow here in Minnesota. But you know, this shoe is very similar to the Vomero, except for it's all ZoomX. So this whole midsole is going to be ZoomX, and it's a lot more bouncy and squishy than the Vomero, which is something that is really nice for easy days and long runs. But I would say that, you know, I really like the Vomero a little bit more because I'm more of a fan of that traditional feel underfoot. But this is like the Nike Invincible. I had a couple pairs of those, really like these, but I would say this is better because it's just a lot more stable, and I just think Nike did a really good job with this shoe. These actually have around probably 400 miles, and they actually feel really good. They feel very similar about how they did at the very start. For durability and like how long they last, this was a great shoe. I recommend that one. The only downside, I would say it's a little bit more, if you're not so stable underfoot, I would say this one probably might not be as good and maybe go more with the plain Vomero. But that's just my preference. So another shoe that just came out would be the new Nike Peg 42. And it's funny, I haven't been able to run that much in this one, but so far I've really liked it. I would say definitely an update from the 41. Something I really like about this shoe is how you can feel the ground a little bit more, and they now got a full air zoom unit across the whole entire foot. It feels really responsive. I think you're able to pick the pace up a little bit in these ones. It's kind of like the workhorse of running. I would describe this one as like the vanilla ice cream, so it's nothing special, nothing crazy, but it's just a good workhorse, a good daily trainer. One thing I would say is that in college you're running so much. You're running a lot more than you did in high school. So for me, I was able to do most of my running in a shoe like this, but I think, you know, when you're getting up to 80 miles a week, having a softer shoe that's a little bit more plush underfoot, like this one here, the Nike Vomero Plus, that's a great option, and that's very helpful. But I think just if you're looking for a shoe that can do almost like anything, this is a great shoe. I would say the another thing too is that they're durable, they last long. I think if you're a runner that likes to feel the ground a little bit more, this is a good shoe. And another pair of shoes I got is the New Balance Rebel V5. This is a fantastic shoe. I really like this. It's super light. It doesn't have a plate in it, but I think this shoe would be great for days that you're kind of picking up the pace a little bit, maybe even a tempo. And if you don't want a plate, of course, I think this is a great shoe because I feel like it's very light, and it's something that you definitely can do your daily mileage in. It's not too firm, it's not too much underfoot. It's just a really good trainer, and I think you can definitely pick up the pace in these. And I think maybe one downside is maybe not as durable, with the outsole being a little less, as you can see, compared to maybe the Vomeros. But I still think this is a great shoe. I highly recommend. And lastly, I got the Asics Metaspeed Sky, and this is, I think, the Paris. I also run in the Nike Vaporflies. I don't have that on me right now, but this is another great shoe I really like. These are great for the days that you're really trying to pick up the pace, you're trying to run threshold or faster, I think, or even a tempo. I think these work great. It's just a very light and fast shoe. You know, they got their FF Turbo foam, and for Nike, and the Vaporfly, it's all ZoomX, and both of these shoes have a carbon plate. So they're very energetic and bouncy, and that's something I think that's very helpful for runners who are looking for that. I think super shoes are great, especially for athletes who are in college or so. I think in high school, you can get away with not really needing too many pairs of super shoes. In high school, I actually did most of my mileage in just a pair of Nike Structures, honestly. And this is a little bit more of a support shoe. I highly recommend this shoe also. They're on the new model. I think it's a little bit better, but I really like these ones because I feel like they could get the job done. They kept me healthy my senior year of high school, and I did most of my work. I did all my workouts, I did all my mileage, and my reasoning behind doing most of my mileage in these were, you know, they're obviously not fun to run in. They're kind of bricks, but when you're doing more of your mileage in a shoe where you're using more of the body and less of the shoe, when you put on those Vaporflies or those Nike Dragonfly spikes, it feels so good. I don't really know if that's really much of the science, but I think in college, when you're doing much more mileage and you're doing so many workouts, maybe even double threshold, your legs are just getting beat up way more. So having a shoe that, you know, can conserve the energy and have the legs feel a little bit better and maybe not do as much of the damage, and I think that can make you be a lot more healthy. So I still think that, you know, in high school, maybe you don't really need a super shoe that much, but maybe you could just go more with a pair of Nike Rebels that, you know, they're fast, they're good for everything, and you can pick up the pace, but there's no plate in it. And I think that's another good option. And then all these are in my running shoe rotation. And I think running shoe rotations are just so important. Running is a really, really repetitive movement. And, you know, every single time you run, you're really using the same exact muscles every time. And if you're using the same exact shoe every time, you can get more receptive to like an overuse injury. And when you're using the same shoe every time, you're not really working any other muscles. You're really using the same ones every single time. So when you have a running shoe rotation, like where, you know, some days you would be wearing these, some days you'd be wearing these, you're working different muscles and you're using different tendons and using different parts of the foot. And I think that's a very helpful thing that kind of helps stay injury free, where you're using different shoes that have different purposes, that use a little bit different muscles. And I think that's very helpful for the sport in general. At the end of the day, I don't think there's no perfect running shoe. I think the best pair of shoes is a pair that when you're running, you don't even notice them underfoot and you're not thinking about the shoe. Everything just is working properly and feels good. That's going to be the best shoe for you. These are just some of my recommendations and some of my favorites. And I hope you guys have found this video helpful in either finding the next pair of shoes or just kind of having a better understanding what each pair of shoes is for. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye.